The soda can hit the pavement with a dull thud, splashing sticky liquid across the black tombguard's polished boots. The crowded Arlington National Cemetery froze, their gasps slicing through the summer heat. Dylan Harper, a 13-year-old in designer sneakers, grinned, his phone already recording for the perfect viral clip. He expected laughs, maybe a flinch from the stoic soldier. But Marcus Freeman, the black tombguard, didn't move. His eyes hidden behind sunglasses, burned with a fury no one saw coming. In that moment, a single act of disrespect was about to ignite a firestorm that would change a boy, family, and a nation's understanding of honor. What Dylan didn't know, what no one in that crowd could have guessed, was that the black man he mocked carried the weight of a fallen brother, and the tomb he guarded held secrets that would soon unravel everything. It was Memorial Day at Arlington National Cemetery. The sun blazed down on a sea of visitors gathered around the tomb of the unknown soldier. The air was thick with heat and reverence, the kind of quiet that settles when something sacred is about to happen. Families, veterans, and tourists stood shoulder to shoulder, their eyes fixed on the lone sentinel, pacing with mechanical precision. Its navy blue uniform was crisp, his kepi hat sat low, and his sunglasses hid any hint of emotion. Every step, every turn, every click of his heels echoed with purpose. This was Marcus Freeman, a 28-year-old black tomb guard, a member of the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment, and a man who carried the weight of honor on his shoulders. Among the crowd was the Harper family from California. Nathan Harper, a tech CEO, was dressed in a tailored suit, his eyes glued to his phone as he fired off emails. His wife, Claire, fumbled with a cemetery map, her designer sunglasses perched on her nose. Between them stood their 13-year-old son, Dylan, his blonde hair gelled to perfection, his outfit screaming money limited edition sneakers, a custom t-shirt, and a shiny new phone dangling from his hand. Dylan wasn't here for the ceremony. He was here because his parents thought a trip to DC would look good on their social media. To Dylan, this was just another boring stop on a vacation he didn't want. "This is so lame," Dylan muttered, loud enough for nearby tourists to glance over. "Why are we standing here watching some guy walk back and forth? It's like 100 degrees out here," Claire sighed, barely looking up. "Dylan, honey, just try to enjoy it. This is important." "Important," Dylan scoffed, scrolling through his phone. "It's just some old tomb. Bet this guy's just a wannabe soldier playing dress-up." Nathan didn't even look up from his screen. "Let him complain, Claire. He'll get over it." The crowd hushed as Marcus completed his 21 steps, turned and faced the tomb. His movements were flawless, a living tribute to the unknown soldiers who gave everything. As a black man in a role steeped in tradition, Marcus had faced scrutiny and doubt, but his dedication was unyielding. He had earned this post through years of grueling training driven by the memory of his older brother Jamal, who never came home from Afghanistan. Every step he took was for Jamal, for the fallen, for the country. But Dylan didn't see that. All he saw was a chance to go viral. "I'm gonna get a sick video of this guy," Dylan said, raising his phone. "Bet I can make him flinch." He started recording, narrating loudly. "Yo, check out this robot soldier. Bet he's sweating buckets under that hat." A few tourists shot Dylan dirty looks, but he didn't care. He was used to getting attention, used to his parents smoothing over any trouble he caused. Back home, teachers let him slide, and his friends worshipped his family's wealth. To Dylan, the world was his playground, and rules didn't apply. As Marcus turned for another pass, Dylan's boredom turned to mischief. He spotted a half-empty soda can in his hand, a leftover from lunch. A grin spread across his face. "Yo, this is gonna be epic," he whispered to himself. He stepped closer to the rope barrier, ignoring the signs that read, "Stay back." The crowd murmured, sensing trouble, but Nathan and Claire were too distracted to notice. With a quick flick of his wrist, Dylan tossed the soda can. It hit the ground near Marcus's feet, splashing sticky liquid onto his polished boots. The crowd gasped, a collective intake of breath that broke the silence. Marcus didn't flinch. His face remained stone, his steps unbroken, but his jaw tightened ever so slightly. Years of combat, years of discipline, as a black soldier facing adversity, held him steady. He'd faced worse than a spoiled enemy fire, roadside bombs, the loss of his brother. But this was a different kind of insult. Dylan laughed louder, egged on by the crowd's reaction. "Yo," He didn't even blink. This guy's a total statue. He raised his phone again, zooming in on Marcus's boots. Check out the mess I made. This is going viral. An elderly man in the crowd wearing a Vietnam veteran cap leaned toward his wife. That kid's got no respect, he muttered. Someone needs to teach him a lesson. Dylan, oblivious, kept going. He stepped right up to the rope, leaning over it. Hey, soldier boy, you gonna clean that up or what? Bet you can't even talk. He turned to the crowd, expecting laughs, but all he got were glares. A mother pulled her kids closer, shielding them from the scene. A group of teenagers whispered, shaking their heads. Nathan finally looked up from his phone. Dylan, what are you doing? Get back here. Relax, Dad, Dylan said, waving him off. Just having fun. These guys are paid to stand there, right? They work for us. The words hung in the air, heavy and wrong. Marcus's eyes, hidden behind his sunglasses, locked onto Dylan for a split second. He'd heard worse insults in war zones, and as a black man, he'd faced prejudice that cut deep. But this kid's arrogance struck a nerve. The tomb of the unknown soldier wasn't just a monument. It was a shrine to sacrifice. 2 men and women who gave their lives without ever knowing fame or fortune. And here was this kid treating it like a TikTok backdrop. Dylan, undeterred, pulled out his phone again. Time for the money shot, he said, stepping over the rope barrier. The crowd erupted in murmurs, phones coming out to record. Dylan strutted toward Marcus, holding his phone high for a selfie. Me and the statue, guys. This is going to get 1 million likes. That was the line. Marcus's training screamed at him to stay still, to ignore the provocation, but something snapped. This wasn't just about him. It was about Jamal. About every soldier who never came home. In one fluid motion, faster than anyone expected, Marcus stepped forward, snatched the phone from Dylan's hand, and dropped it onto the pavement. The crack of the screen echoed like a gunshot. The crowd froze. Dylan's jaw dropped, his eyes wide with shock. You broke my phone, he screamed. That's a $2,000 phone. You're gonna pay for that. Marcus returned to his post, his face unreadable, his posture perfect, but the air had changed. The crowd buzzed with whispers, some cheering quietly, others stunned. Security guards, led by Inspector Karen Mitchell, pushed through the crowd. Karen, a no-nonsense officer with 15 years at Arlington, spoke into her radio. We've got a situation at the tomb. Kid crossed the line, and the sentinel responded. Nathan stormed forward, his face red. This is outrageous. That soldier assaulted my son. I'm calling my lawyer. Do you know who I am? Kieran raised a hand, her voice calm but firm. Sir, your son threw a soda can at a tomb guard and crossed a restricted barrier. That's assault and trespassing on federal property. You're lucky the sentinel didn't do more. He's a kid, Claire shrieked, clutching her purse. You can't treat him like a criminal, Ma'am Kieran said. Age doesn't excuse disrespecting the tomb. This is a sacred place, and your son just defiled it. Dylan, still staring at his shattered phone, looked around. For the first time, he noticed the crowd's faces. Anger, disgust, disappointment. A group of veterans stood nearby, their arms crossed, their eyes hard. One of them, a woman in her 60s with a Marine Corps pin, shook her head. I buried friends here, she said, loud enough for Dylan to hear. You should be ashamed. The hashtag Arlington Kid was already trending. Clips of Dylan's stunt and Marcus's response spread across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. News vans were en route, and the story hit national headlines. Teen disrespects tomb of the unknown soldier. Karen turned to her team. Escort the family to the security office. We need to sort this out, Nathan protested, but the guards were firm. They led the Harpers away as the crowd parted, some snapping photos, others muttering about spoiled rich kids. Marcus resumed his march, his boots still stained with soda, his focus unbreakable. Inside, though, he felt a storm. He'd broken protocol, something a tomb guard rarely did, but he didn't regret it, not yet. In the security office, a small air-conditioned room, lined with photos of Arlington's history. The Harpers sat across from Karen and Colonel Susan Reynolds, the commanding officer of Marcus's unit. Susan, a 50-year-old veteran with silver hair and a steely gaze, didn't mince words. Mr. Harper, your son committed assault on a federal officer and disrespected a national monument. This isn't a game. The tomb represents every soldier who gave their life for this country. Your son treated it like a circus. Nathan leaned forward, his businessman instincts kicking in. Look, Colonel, I'm sure we can work this out. I'll write a check to the cemetery, cover any damages. Let's keep this quiet. Susan's eyes narrowed. This isn't about money, Mr. Harper. It's about respect. The complete lack of it. Your son needs to learn that actions have consequences, no matter how much money you have. Claire clutched her husband's arm. He's only 13. He didn't mean any harm. He's just a kid. A kid who thinks he's above the rules, Karen said. And judging by your reactions, I can see where he gets it. Dylan slumped in his chair, his usual swagger gone. The weight of the situation was starting to hit. His phone, his lifeline, was in pieces. The world was watching and they weren't on his side. For the first time, he felt small. Susan stood. I'm calling in a specialist to assess your son. This isn't just about punishment. It's about making sure he understands what he's done. Till then, you're not leaving Arlington. An hour later, Dr. Rachel Brooks arrived, a 38-year-old psychologist who specialized in troubled teens. Rachel had seen kids like Dylan before, spoiled, entitled, craving attention, but never taught responsibility. She sat down with Dylan in a private room, her voice calm but direct. Dylan, I need you to tell me why you did what you did, she said, her pen poised over a notepad. Lean shrugged, avoiding her eyes. I was bored. I was just standing there like a robot. I thought it'd be funny. Funny?
What?
Rachel raised an eyebrow. You threw a soda can at a black soldier, guarding the tomb of the unknown soldier. Do you know what that tomb represents? Dylan shrugged again. Some dead soldiers, I guess.
What?
Rachel leaned forward. Those dead soldiers gave their lives for this country. They died so you could have the freedom to stand here and act like a fool. That guard, Marcus, is honoring them. You disrespected that. Dylan shifted uncomfortably. It was just a soda can. It's not like I hurt him. It's not about physical harm, Dylan. It's about respect. You treated a sacred place like your personal playground. How do you think that guard felt? I don't know, Dylan mumbled. He didn't even react. That's because he's trained to stay professional, even when people like you try to provoke him. But trust me, he felt it. And so did every veteran in that crowd. Dylan looked down, his fingers twitching. He didn't have an answer. For the first time, he was starting to see the guard as a person, not just a prop. Outside, the media frenzy grew. CNN and Fox News picked up the story, and hashtag Arlington Kid trended worldwide. Commentators debated parenting, privilege, and patriotism. A viral tweet from a veteran read, "This kid needs to learn what sacrifice means. The tomb isn't a joke." Nathan's phone buzzed with calls from his PR team, warning that his company's stock was taking a hit. Claire's social media was flooded with hate comments, forcing her to go private. Back in the room, Rachel made her recommendation. Dylan needs a wake-up call, she told Susan and the Harpers. I'm proposing a 4-week community service program here at Arlington. He'll work with the grounds crew, meet veterans, and learn about the tomb's significance. If he doesn't cooperate, we'll escalate to juvenile authorities. Nathan blanched. You can't be serious. He's a kid, not a criminal. Committed assault on federal property, Susan said. Be grateful we're offering an alternative to legal charges. This is about teaching him, not punishing him. Claire's eyes filled with tears. But our vacation, we're supposed to fly to Paris next week. Your vacation is over, Karen said bluntly. Your son's education starts now. Dylan was silent, his mind racing. Community service, cleaning a cemetery, this was a nightmare. But the look in Rachel's eyes told him he wasn't getting out of this. Over the next 4 weeks, Dylan's world changed. He woke up at dawn each day, trading his designer clothes for jeans and a work shirt. He swept pathways, pulled weeds, and polished headstones under the Virginia sun. The first week, he complained constantly, but the grounds crew didn't coddle him. They were veterans, men and women, who'd served in wars Dylan had only read about. They didn't care about his family's money. One afternoon, Rachel took Dylan to meet Evelyn Carter, a 90-year-old World War II nurse who tended to wounded soldiers at Normandy. Evelyn's hands trembled as she spoke, but her voice was strong. I held boys younger than you as they died, she said. They didn't know if we'd win the war, but they fought anyway. That's what the tomb is for, those who gave everything. Dylan listened, his usual sarcasm gone. Evelyn's stories weren't like the movies he watched or the games he played. They were real, raw, and heavy. For the first time, he felt something like shame. During the third week, Dylan attended a Memorial Day wreath-laying ceremony. He stood in the crowd, watching Marcus, the black tombguard, march again. The guard's precision, the silence of the crowd, the weight of the moment hit Dylan differently now. He saw the pride in Marcus's steps, the respect in the veterans' salutes. He realized the tomb wasn't just a monument. It was a promise to never forget. On the final day of his program, Rachel arranged a meeting between Dylan and Marcus. They sat in a quiet office overlooking the cemetery, with Colonel Reynolds and Rachel present. Marcus was in civilian clothes, but his military bearing was unmistakable. Dylan's stomach churned as he faced the man he had disrespected. "Marcus, I'm sorry," Dylan said, his voice steady but soft. "I was a jerk. I didn't get what this place means. I treated you like a prop, and that was wrong." Marcus studied him, his expression unreadable. "Why'd you do it, kid?" Dylan hesitated. "I thought it'd make me look cool online. I didn't think about you as a person. I didn't think about the soldiers you're honoring. I've been talking to veterans, learning about what they went through. My grandpa was a Marine. He'd be ashamed of me." Marcus nodded slowly. "My brother was a soldier too. Jamal, he died in Afghanistan when I was your age. I guard the tomb for him, for all the ones who didn't come home. When you threw that soda, you weren't just disrespecting me. You were disrespecting them." Dylan's eyes stung. "I get that now. Can't undo it, but I want to make it right." Marcus leaned forward. "You're starting too. Admitting you were wrong takes guts. Keep listening. Keep learning. That's how you honor the fallen." Dylan nodded, his throat tight. "I will, I promise." Marcus extended his hand. Dylan shook it, the grip firm and real. For the first time, Dylan felt like he was being seen not as a rich kid, but as someone capable of change. The story didn't end there. Dylan's journey became national news, a redemption arc that replaced #ArlingtonKid with #TombguardLesson. He started a blog, sharing what he'd learned about sacrifice and respect, hoping to reach other kids like him. Nathan and Claire, shaken by the experience, enrolled in parenting classes, determined to raise Dylan differently. Marcus, the black tombguard, continued his duty, his boots polished, his steps precise, a silent guardian of the fallen. The cracked phone was never replaced, but what Dylan gained: humility, respect, sense of something bigger than himself was worth more than any gadget. The tomb of the unknown soldier stood as it always had. It's a reminder that some things are sacred, and some lessons change you forever.